So it is manifest and plain that God is currently judging America, one of the most fruitful nations ever to exist, and he is judging us by turning us over to the fruitless deeds of darkness. America has enslaved herself to the terrible bondage of orgasms without consequences. When women were granted the right to vote, the nation had already accepted the lie that a nation is nothing more than a collection of individuals. And so the matter was framed this way: men as individuals can vote, so why cannot individual women do the same? We were so muddled, we thought we were giving the franchise to women when we were in fact taking it away from families. The net effect of women's suffrage was not an advance in women's rights, but rather part of a push to replace covenanted entities, like families, with raw individualism. An overweening state greatly prefers governing an atomistic populace, where each individual is like a BB thrown into an electoral sack.
Fruitless. Santa Claus is right, you guys. A man that is Pastor Doug Wilson, who looks like, honestly, his diet seems pretty fruitless. It's a side point, but one I'd like to make, because I make inappropriate points sometimes, but kind of they make a point as well. It's like, don't be moralizing and lecturing other people when it seems like maybe you're not making the world's healthiest choices yourself, and I don't know that for a fact. It might just be your natural disposition, to be an exclusionary dick, but that's you, I suppose.
Struck in the forehead with the hammer of God.
That's just a brief introduction right there. The the orgasms without consequences.
The terrible bondage of orgasms without consequences.
I love the people that are always against people having enjoyable active sex lives, or those who seem like they probably could never get one on their own, so they want to take the fun away from the rest of us, to be honest with you. But that's just my take on it as somebody who doesn't have that much time to think about it on account of the sometimes fun, fruitless sex I get to enjoy in my life as a free person in the modern world. But whatever, you know what I mean? It's not the point yet again on that. I just wanted you to meet Christian nationalist Pastor Doug Wilson.
Porn, pot, and poker has now greased all the BBs. Nothing coheres anymore.
And I think that should pretty much tell you all you need to know about this genius, except that he's gaining huge popularity, and the fact that he's very creepy and a literal fascist. Just take a look at this.
The public spaces would belong to Christ, right? So no minarets. If they wanted to get together in private and pray, fine, but no public claiming of the territory.
Oh, no other religions in the public square, but you're cool if they pray at home, huh? In Doug Wilson's version of America, no other religion would be accepted other than his fundamentalist, very narrow-minded, and inherently very exclusionary version of Christianity. It's no big deal except that he erases the identities of tens of millions of our neighbors in the process. While, of course, all of these beliefs are very terrifying on their own and super against what America is supposed to be about, separation of church and state and all that good stuff. That doesn't seem like we really care about too much in this country anymore, being that now Pentagon has monthly prayer services, and the fact that our Secretary of Defense has these like Christian Crusades tattoos on his body where he thinks that they think that white people are better than all other kinds of people, that kind of stuff. But that's the ideology behind these symbols. Wilson has the ear of that very man, a very powerful ally in Washington who shouldn't be there himself, Pete Hegseth. Take a look.
Much of the outrage fueled by his tattoos, which include a symbol known as the Jerusalem cross on his chest, another saying Deus Vult, Latin for God wills it, and a common battle cry during the Crusades, the religious wars led by Catholics to convert Muslims a millennium ago. Those symbols also used by groups that associate with Christian identity. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which tracks hate groups, defines that as an anti-Semitic racist theology that asserts white people are favored by God in the Bible. That includes Christian nationalist and pro-Confederate groups, among those in full force during the January 6th Capitol attack.
That's right. Former Fox News host, alleged alcoholic, accused sexual assaulter, Pete Hegseth, man with a little, for sure though, he has this little American flag pocket square on his shirt, so you know that he knows how to make America look as tacky as many in the MAGA movement seem to have as one of their defining features. But, Hegseth himself, I only point those things out not to just point a man's misgivings, but the fact that the hypocrisy of touting your Christian faith while your actions in your own life and your policy preferences go against the basic core teachings of Christianity, stuff like that, right, Henry? It's just hypocritical. Yeah. I agree. And, it kind of goes against teachings of all religions at the same time. But here they are, shaking hands, chumming it up, hanging out with the guy espousing such a Christian version of this nation that Donald Trump even is cool with going along with because it keeps him in power, even though he's the least religious man maybe to ever hold office in this country. And again, you don't need to be religious, but don't fake it. That's all I'm saying. Don't fake it. Don't fake it till you make it. And he's already made it, and he's still faking it. So that's a weird situation. He thinks America should adopt a Christian theocracy, this Wilson guy, and he's finding a new audience under Donald Trump.
Is planting a church in D.C. part of your mission to try to turn this into a Christian nation?
Yes. So every society is theocratic. The only question is who's theo? In a secular democracy, it would be demos, the people. In a Christian republic, it'd be Christ.
Well, what would you say to someone watching this and say, look, I'm a Muslim. Who are you to say your worldview is better than mine, that your God is better than mine?
Well, if I went to Saudi Arabia, I would fully expect to live under their God's rules.
But you said earlier that you want this to be a Christian world.
Yes.
So you want to supplant their religion with your Christian.
Yes, by peaceful means, by sharing the gospel. There's a lot of work yet to do. I believe that we are working our little corner of the vineyard.
How precious!
And now there's a monthly prayer service at the Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
For his part, Hegseth has publicly praised Wilson.
Now we're standing on the shoulders of a generation later, the Doug Wilsons and the others.
It's just a scary thing to see happening in real time in America, just because, again, our nation is founded on a separation of church and state. And when you make it a very Christian nation and say that women shouldn't have the right to vote, on account of how that's bad for the family, treating women as equals, super bad for the family. I know it's hard to even understand it, Henry. I agree it's unreasonable. I think you should have the right to vote. I'm kidding. Dogs shouldn't vote.
Nothing coheres anymore.
But humans should. All humans should be equal. But when people base their beliefs on out-of-touch interpretations of books from long ago, religious texts, but don't base it in the modern world and respect for all people equally, it just blurs a line that is what made America special and different. But I guess we don't need to focus on our good parts anymore. We should just blend them all into a real mishmash of hatred and exclusionary vibes and creating fear and unwelcome feelings towards our fellow citizens. Look, not all Christians, not all pastors feel this way. Here's Reverend Dr. Caleb J. Lyons taking down Wilson and his fellow Christian nationalists in a pretty awesome way.
Jesus taught us to value absolutely everybody as a sacred being of worth and dignity. And if you are saying things like, women are the kind of people who people come out of, which is what Doug Wilson said, while his other pastors were saying we should strip away the 19th Amendment and make sure that women can't vote. If you are saying things like that, you are not being a follower of Jesus Christ. Because Jesus called us to constantly love people more.
So look, again, the issue is not with religion. You should practice religion as you see fit. You should worship whatever God you want to or lack thereof. That's what this nation is built upon. It's what makes us great. That's the whole point. Not being told a specific religion that you should embrace and that all others be damned, quite literally, to hell, as these people believe. So I know it's an uncomfortable topic for Henry. It is for me as well, but thank you for listening. It's important to be aware of what's happening in this country so that we can, try to help stop it and try to help keep some semblance of the country we used to know that is being eroded. But we can, we can try to stop it as long as Jesus allows. Jesus take the wheel, okay? I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. Amen.